Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Art 196, Introduction to Designing Web Graphics for the fall semester 2021. Today we're moving on from learning how to insert different kinds of content into pages to working with images in pages. It's to quickly review what we started in the second week of class. I want to make sure that everybody knows the difference or needs to review the difference, if you don't know, between raster graphics, which is what we're working with photographic images, and vector graphics. The three different file types that you can work with on the web, which are JPEG, that's the one that you'll probably work with most, GIF or GIF, however you want to pronounce it, and PNG. Those are the three different files. Also note that the resolution for web graphics need only be 72 pixels per inch. It does not need to be 200 or 300 pixels per inch, what you may be accustomed to using for print. So those are the principal things that you need to concern yourself with. Know that it's my belief that the best way to prepare your images and size and quality and that sort of thing is in Photoshop. If you have another digital imaging program that you prefer to use or would like to try, be my guest. But that's all the review that I wanted to do right now. So what we're doing now, though, is we're going to insert images into the documents that we created in lesson 9. And again, learn how to properly apply styles to them so that they will view properly depending on the screen size and that sort of thing. There's only 2 files that we'll be working with. We're going back to the contact us HTML, and where you see different people for management and for education and events and stuff, you'll notice that there are names associated with each of these. Well, we're going to insert images of these people into these, and we want to be able to control the images. We really have in web design not the same control that you have working with InDesign or Photoshop or Illustrator. We can either center the image, or we can, float it to the left or float it to the right. And that's about it. So we have really, from my estimation, by comparison, minimal controls. So this is the start file. That's what it looks like. And then the finished one that they provide for us looks like this. Okay. So we have the images of all the people, and you'll notice that they float back and forth from float right to float left. Well, that's what we're going to work on today. That's one of the things that we'll work on. Now, one of the things that the lesson covers that I'm not going to go into that much is that if you do wish to bring a Photoshop image directly into Dreamweaver, you can, but then you have to go through a variety of steps to make it compatible with the web. And so it's my belief that you do all of your preparation in advance, or step out of Dreamweaver and go to Photoshop, prepare your image, put it in your image folder, and then you're set to go. There's another one here, or one of the 2, I think it's the last one down here, that this is a TIFF file. And again, TIFF files are used for print, so you can't bring it in. They show you different ways of just opening it in Photoshop and saving it for the web and stuff. Well, we've already done that sort of thing. So the most important thing to learn from this is how to create the selector that you'll need, style, to make it float left or right. And that will be about it. And then there are various ways of inserting files too. Now, the other file that we have here is the news finished. You can see that we have an image that's been inserted here of a skyline. The important thing about this image is that we're going to add a bootstrap component to it, our style, which is .image-responsive. And what makes that really useful is that if you stretch the image out and you view it on a large screen, it stretches to fit. And if we work all the way down to a small screen, it shrinks down to fit the small screen as well. And that's really very nice. Otherwise, you can have problems with your images and viewing them properly if you don't apply that image responsive style to it. And then the last thing that they do at the bottom is that they add an image here, and they use, whoops, come on, the float. There we go. Where did it go? There it is. The float right responsive approach for this little image right here. So what you'll notice though, when we begin to add images, is that if we look at the properties panel down below, it will show you the source, where it's located and the name of it. It will also show you over to the left. It will show you the file size. Okay. You'll notice that a class has been assigned to this. It is float right. We could switch and say that we want it to be float left. I won't do that now because it's going to sluggish. It will slow everything down. Well, it did pop up. So watch, if I switch to float left, it will just jump to the left side of the screen and all the text will float to the right of it. So, that's an option for you. You could also change the size of the image from here. To the right here, you'll notice that the width is 300 pixels and the width and height have been linked together. So then it automatically changes to 312. If we unlock that, then you're going to distort the image. So I'd be careful with that. There is a feature here where you can edit the image in Photoshop and it will take you there and you'll save it. And then when you come back, it should automatically update it. Again, be careful when you're doing that, when you're editing images in Dreamweaver. While you're in Dreamweaver, sometimes problems can arise afterwards. Okay, so that's what we're doing today. So let's start by different ways of adding. Let's go back to the contact us here. And let's start by adding images to here. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to add image Elaine. Okay, and I want you to see what happens. And then we're going to, in order to properly make it float left or right, we're going to have to add and create selectors for that. So as soon as if I click here to the left of this paragraph, what I want to do is I want to, in the beginning of it, you can see that it's the little flashing cursor. I can insert an image from up here. Okay, so I can go ahead under insert and I can go to HTML and I can select, I'm sorry, I can do it right up here. I can insert image right here. Okay, and then it should take me directly to my image folder. Now, do I want it before, after, or nest? So I'm going to go ahead real quick here, and I'm not going to select any of these. And I'm going to go back to the finished version real quick. And to show you that if I click here and I select the image, this is Elaine. You can see that it's contained within that paragraph. It doesn't lie outside it. It is contained inside it. And you'll notice that it shows the image source here. And you can see that the float right has been added so that it does float to the right, that source. And it gives you the name. It's the other thing that we need to talk about too today are alt tags. And it will be Elaine Meridian Greenstart, President and CEO. To make your website compatible, ADA compatible, you have to have alt tags that are descriptive for all of your images, and there are no exceptions. Okay, so I will show you where to add that. Again, in the properties panel, here's the alt tag down here. And that you have to manually put in. So let me go back to our content. And I'm going to, again, place the cursor right there. And another way to insert it would be to go to, we have files, and I can go to insert from here. And I can insert an image from here. And with the cursor, you have to make sure that the cursor is placed where you want it. I can double click here, and I should get the same thing, that I want to insert it and nest it inside here. Or the last one, which is really kind of a nice one to use, is if I switch from live view to design view. I've tried it with the design view and it doesn't work. But again, click where the cursor goes here. And then I'm going to go back to the files. Oh, and if I didn't mention it, just to be on the safe side, I'm going to stop for just a second, is that don't forget, since we're working on a brand new lesson, don't forget to go to Site, Manage Sites. Double click on the site that you're working on. And don't forget to change the root folder to Lesson 10. And then under Advanced Settings, under Local Info, make sure under the default image folder that you select the folder that's contained, the image folder that's contained inside Lesson 10. You don't want it, the old one, linked to Lesson 9, or it won't work. Okay, so I'm sorry, I should have said that from the get-go. It's just an important reminder. It's easy to forget. So back to inserting her image. Let's go all the way back to that. I'm going to place the cursor right in front of Elaine. And now what I want to do is I want to find the image of Elaine inside my image folder. And I'm going to click and drag it over here and place it right at the, at the beginning of Elaine. Okay, and it will take a minute to pop up. And now I'm going to switch back to live view, and you can see that it places it inside our paragraph, but it's not going to be viewed the way we want it. Notice that the first line of that paragraph is inserted directly midpoint to the right of the image, but it doesn't wrap around the image the way that we would like. So that means that we now need to go to CSS Designer, and we need to create a new, actually, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to create both of them here. We're going to create two new selectors. So make sure that you have green style selected, global, and I'm going to go ahead and create a brand new one. And I don't want it to be profile, P image or anything. I could do that, but what I want to do instead is I'm going to put in dot float FLT hyphen right, or you can spell it out if you want, RGT. Okay. And then I need to specify the settings for that. I'm also going to, while I'm at it, I'm going to go ahead and do the left one as well. So I'm going to go ahead and create a brand new left one here. And I'm going to put float. So that'd be dot FLT hyphen left LFT. Okay. Hit the return key twice. And now I need to specify for each of these what I need to do. So I'm going to go ahead and the one for the right, I'm going to come down under float, and I want this to float to the right. So you'll notice that we only have two options: float left, float right, or no float, none. Well, I want this one to float to the right. Okay, so I click float right. And you'll notice that nothing is happening yet because we haven't assigned that image, that selector. The other thing that we need to do, and I guess I can go ahead and assign it, is I'm going to go ahead and come down here and look for the class under F. Okay, so scroll up. And it needs to be float right. And my computer is slowing down, but it's not as bad as it was the other day. Okay. Back up at the C's now. So we're going to go through this again. And I need to find float left and float right for each of these. Okay. Okay. I don't want profile. Oh, this is painful when this does this. There we go. I have float left and float right. Oh, no, 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 no. Jumped. Now it jumps again. There's the F's. Come on. And again, this won't be as painful for you because you're not going to be broadcasting, I hope. You know, but if it is slow, then it just needs you to mean a faster processor. But anytime I'm broadcasting this for the webinars, it really is taxing on my computer speed. I'm going to select something that I don't want, and then I'm going to come back again and change it. That could be why I got something else going with that. Well, let's go back up. And there is the float right. That's what I want. And notice that it goes to the right. Ta-da! That's our limit. We can either float left or float right. But the thing that I want you to take note of is that the text does now float around the image, which is what we want. But you'll notice that it butts right up against the image, and I don't want that. So we need to the float right, we need to do one more thing. We need to either add margins or padding. I'm going to go ahead and add a margin to the left so that it pushes it away. So to the left here, I'll add at least maybe 10 pixels. I prefer maybe between 15 and 20 in many cases. So I'll go ahead but I'll use the one that the book does, 10. And as soon as I do that, you'll notice that it pushes it away just a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and change it though to my taste and make it 15, at least 15, just to push it away a little bit more. Okay, so we've edited our float right. Now we need to do the same for the float left, since I haven't specified anything for it. So what I need to do here is under float, I'm going to make sure that float left is selected. And then I want to add margins to the right. So let's go ahead and scroll up. And we want, to the right. So when it's to the left, we want to the left. And I'm going to go ahead and change this to maybe 15 pixels as well. Okie doke. So now we go down to the next image. We have both of our float left and our float right created. And if I can scroll up, that would be nice. There we go. So the next one is Sarah. So I'm going to go ahead and scroll up a little bit, and I'm going to click at the very beginning of the Sarah paragraph. Come on. Okay, I'm going to switch to design view, since I have to go there anyway, or I could. Let's go ahead and switch. Come on. There we go. So let's go ahead again, and where we have Sarah, I'll click at the beginning of that. Go back over to our files, and let's find the image of Sarah. Okay, so we'll go to, here's Sarah JPEG. Notice that most of these have already been have been formatted correctly, is JPEG, GIF, or PNG. PNG is probably more commonly used now than JPEG for a lot of things. And I'll put it in there. And again, because we haven't assigned a float for it yet, it's not going to appear correctly. It's not appearing at all. Let's do that again. Move it over. Oh, come on. Oh, what? I didn't want to do that. I don't want her outside of all of that. I have to undo a couple of times. I have to take this and undo it. Just, yeah, it's putting it in the wrong place. So click here. Find Sarah. And again, it's just my computer is acting very sluggish. Release. And again, it's not formatted properly. So we need to add the correct, it's adding the profile class. I don't want the profile class. I want it to be the float left. Come on. Finally down to the F's. Float left. And it works very nicely now. Again, it's all floating to the left. So now what I can do is I can switch from design view and go back to live view and check it and make sure that it all works. Scroll down. Again, in this herky-jerky fashion. And rather than do the others, I'm going to let you do those because it's just going back and forth. Because this is kind of painful. Okay, so the one though that isn't complete, I believe we have Eric and we have Lynn. Lynn is a Photoshop image. So let me just go to the finished version here to show you that if I scroll down here, oh, there's Sarah. So here's, oh, come on. I wanted to show you Lynn because part of the exercise that they do in here is that, you know, they actually edit one of the images in Photoshop, this one here. And when I select her, if I can, in the TIFF file, as I said, you can't bring it in directly. When you try to bring the Photoshop file in directly, it will ask you if you what you want to do with it. And you want to add, you know, you want to turn it into a JPEG and you want to make a copy of it and put it in your image folder, and the answer is yes to all of those. But as I said, you should do that ahead of time. So with Lynn selected here, okay, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click. This may be a wrong thing to do, but I'm going to go ahead and click where it says edit, and Photoshop is the default. And if Photoshop is not opened, it will open it. And we should be able to go back and edit the original file. If not, then let's see what happens here. Yeah, Photoshop is opening. Well, while that's doing that, let's switch here. See what happens. I need to talk about alt tags. Well, let me just do that now. Let's scroll up. Since it's not opening Photoshop for me, even though it is, but it's not popping open. I'm just going to close it. No, it isn't opening. So my computer is just really sluggish. Anyway, alt tags. Alt tags are extremely, extremely important for complying with the Americans with Disabilities Act. So to do so, all you have to do is you have to select an image. So let me go ahead and go all the way back to the top here. And we're going to select Elaine's image. Come on. I'm going to close Photoshop because it's, yeah. Okay, now it's selected. So in your properties panel, where it says Alt, you select the image first, you go ahead down here and you put in any pertinent information about it. In this particular instance, it says that it's Elaine. Come on. She's the CEO of the company and on and on. Okay, so Elaine, Meridian, Green Star, President and CEO. So for each of the images that you insert, you're supposed to do that. And now Photoshop opens up. You can see that I'm having problems here. So as soon as this finishes opening, I'm going to close it because it's just, I've got too much going on here. And we'll go on to the next page and work with that. Let me go ahead and pause the recording for a minute.
Recording in progress.
So let's go ahead and continue. Let's go to news and look at news finished. Let's see what we're doing here. There's two images that we're supposed to insert, and one we're supposed to resize, and one we're supposed to add the responsive bootstrap class to it. There we go. So again, notice that the image is placed within the paragraph. Now, that's the farmer's market. And then if I click here for the building, again, come on. Try to get the darn thing to select. I don't want that paragraph selected. I don't have anything else open. I don't understand why. I know why, I think. Let me try something here, and this may be disastrous, but we'll see what happens. I'm going to unplug my, I have two monitors going on here. There we go. So I'm going to select now. This might be the problem. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to select this image. And you can see that the image source is, in this particular instance, is right after the H2 tag, H2, and before the P tag. So what we can do is I can go to the contact us here, not that one. What am I doing? The news. And let's select the H2 tag. And now what I want to do is this time I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to insert. I want to insert the image. And I believe this is the skyline. So I'm going to go ahead and insert and double click on image. And I want it to be after. And so I think it is. That's probably what's causing the problem here. Is I want the skyline. I'm going to go ahead and open it. And that inserts it. It might be my second monitor here that's causing the problem. So notice what happens though, that it's extending beyond the limits of our profile, or the actually not the profile, but our section tag. So what I need to do here is I need to add this, and I need to put responsive if I can spell it right. Hold on here. Let me go back to the original finished one just to make sure that I have it right. Image responsive. That was it. So let's do it again. Let's go back again. And I want image hyphen responsive. Okay, and notice how it shrunk down to fit. That's exactly what we wanted. Okie doke. So that makes it work quite nicely now. Before, if I were to take that out, let's go ahead and take it out. Again, notice how it extends and expands, and it gets even worse when I drag it down to a smaller screen. Notice how the image does not resize and conform to fit the size of the new screen size that we're working with. So now I'll go ahead and I'll expand it again, select it, and I'll add that. This is a bootstrap one. So I want image, what should be image responsive. There we go. And now it conforms nicely. And now watch what happens when I resize the screen to simulate what it's going to be for, other screen sizes. And even when I go all the way down to a teeny tiny little phone, iPhone or, smartphone, it works really nicely. Let me go ahead and go back up. And where we have shopping here, I'm going to go ahead and click inside the paragraph. And I'm going to insert the shopping image, and it's going to be too big. There is one thing that I forgot to add that we'll go back, and since my computer is working a little bit nicer now, since I've turned off that other screen, I'll turn it back on in a minute when I'm done with all of this. But I'll go ahead and insert the image now. So I'll go ahead and insert an image. And this is the shopping image. And we want it to be float right. And we want it to be nested in here. Okay. And I want it to be this shopping image right here, I believe. Is there another shopping image? No, let's do this one. It's this one. That's what we want. I'm going to pick this one because it's a little bit larger. If we look here, you can see that it specifies the dimensions and everything. This is 450 by 400 pixels. Now, that's a decent size for a website, but in our case, it's going to be too large. That's way too large. So I'm going to go ahead, and while we have the image selected here, I can go ahead and I want to make sure that the ratio between width and height is locked. And I'm going to change it from 450 to 350. And it shrinks it down. Now, notice that it wasn't locked. So that's not what I wanted. So I'm going to click to make sure that it's locked. Now let's change it to 350. Make sure that both are selected. Now, again, we need to select, we want it to be flush right. So it is legitimate to go ahead and to resize images. I wouldn't make them larger than what you had made, what you had saved, but I would definitely consider making them smaller. So I want to go ahead and let's change the class of this. And see how when I don't have that other monitor on here, how it just scrolls really nicely. So I'm gonna probably have to work with just one monitor from here on out. That's what's been causing my problems all along. Scroll through all of them. And there I want it to be float right. Come on, come on. Scroll too far. Too slow and too fast. Come on. Float right. There we go. Oh, come on. God damn. Still having problems. I guess it doesn't matter whether my larger monitor is plugged in or not. I'm still having issues, and it just it doesn't matter. It was working fine for a moment, and now it's not. Float right. Boom. So now it works. Ta-da! It works. One thing that I forgot to do though, with the other one, I'm going to go back to contact us. And when we scrunch it down, we do need to create a let's go all the way down to this. You know, this when it's a smartphone like this, it's just too big. It needs to be changed. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to create for, let's go back over to CSS Designer. And what we need to do is for green styles, I want to make sure that we add to our media query, that we add one here. So let's go ahead. And what I want to do is working with I'm jumping ahead now. Very ahead. There we go. So now what I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to create a new selector, and this is going to be for both float left and float right. Okay. So that's what it's going to be called. So I want it to be .flt RDT, comma, and .flt underscore LFT. Okay. So I've got both of them, the float left and float right. And now what I need to do is what we're going to do is we're going to say for this new selector, we want the maximum width to be 95%. Okay, so the width maximum, we want maximum width right here. Maximum width in percentage is to be 95%. Okay. Then what we also want to do is we want the height to be automatic. So the height is going to be auto. Then we also need to, under display, we're going to use block. So it will center it all. And then what we need to do is for the margins, we're going to have 0 pixels and auto. So 0 px and auto. And then float, we don't want any float at all with this. And then I need to apply this selector. And this is where you can say float none. And now I got to go back again and I got to apply that new class. This is float right and for float left. So that applies to both the float right and the float left. But for it will only be applied when you're using a smartphone. Come on. Where are you? I don't want float right. I want it to be both. So let's do this one here. This is the right. This is for the responsive one. And that's what we want here. Notice how this is centered now. So this one, let's go ahead and select the other one. Let's go ahead. This is float left, float right. So it should be automatic. And I guess I need to select, do it to all of these. So if I select each of these and I come down and it won't matter. There you go. So now all of them, as you add them, they'll be centered on a smartphone. And then as soon as you go up, then they go to where they're supposed to be. Now this one is incorrect. This is a different float right. So let's go back. Green styles. So this got screwed up again. So this one it's a different float right. I want green styles and I want the float. Yeah, float here. So where did it go? Global. Let's just type it in and see. Make this one float right. So maybe I changed the wrong one. I think I did. Oh, damn. Okay. Well, you can see that as I'm talking to all of you guys, things are getting a little bit unnerving here. Let me plug my monitor back in, since it's really not having the impact that I thought it would. There we go. So I want the float right. Let's check this out here. $95 auto. This one is the unknown. Let's look at float right here. then I think we'll be done for today. And so this has not been a smooth day for me. It seems to be having more of those with my computer glitches here. So let's go to the float right. Let's check it out. And it looks like, oh, because the class hasn't been applied. That's why. And I got to go through that again, float right. Now, why isn't it applying it? Okay, so we're gonna, let me check the float here. This needs to be float right. Well, I'm done for today. I'm having glitches, so as soon as I log off, I'm sure everything will work just swimmingly, and then I'll have to come back to all of you on Tuesday and explain, why the glitch is today. Some of it was working, some of it not. And again, part of it is hardware issues on my end, and internet connections and that sort of thing. But why this isn't working right now, I don't know. This should be, as soon as you go up, let me go back down a minute, see. A smaller screen. Yeah, that's working there. But that I don't want here. That's because it's not, for some reason, the float left and float right isn't being applied on the media query correctly. I don't know. Let me go ahead and sign off with all of you and then fix it. Then I'll be back on Tuesday and we'll go over it again. And then we'll move on to lesson 11, which is also a difficult lesson. Okay. So I'm going to sign off, and I apologize for the glitches, technical ones, and then we'll hopefully I'll have them all fixed for Tuesday. Okay. So bye-bye. I'm going to go ahead and sign off. We're running up against the 11 o'clock hour anyway. Okay. I'm going to pause the recording.